Welcome to Unveiling, where we highlight the stories of individuals who've achieved good success in Christ. My name is Adise Jonas Murphy, and I'm privileged, I am honored, I am excited to, of course, interview a good friend of mine. He is Nigel Coke. Nigel is a friend, he is a colleague, but I think it's the first time I'm saying this publicly. He's actually one of my mentors, and he's provided guidance to me, as a communicator in the Seventh-day Adventist Church for over about 13, 14 years. Elder Nigel Coke serves as the Communication, Public Affairs, and Religious Liberty Director of the Jamaica Union Conference. And today we are going to be getting into his story. He's the one that's usually responsible for making the Seventh-day Adventist Church, hit the headlines of the newspapers. But today we're going to go into his story, the one that doesn't usually make the headlines. Nigel, my friend, brother, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Good mood.
Yeah. We're here, of course, Spring Gardens. We're on the outside, right in front of a river. Many persons won't know, but it's just a nice setting for us to get into a little discussion about, who Nigel is and what are some of the things that, you've achieved. And of course, God being with you on the journey. Before we get into it, I want you to kind of just brief our listeners or viewers on who is Nigel Coke. Better yet, as a child, let's go back to your childhood. Who is Nigel? Who was Nigel as a child?
Well, as a child, I loved the outdoors. You couldn't keep me inside at all. I played football on the road, and I locked off buck toes.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Some persons can relate to that, because then you wouldn't have had much vehicle on the road as now. So we'd play football on the street, sometime a little scrimmage other than that. But I'll be always outgoing, flying a kite, playing a little cricket too. You set up to do a bat, but so always outdoor. I'll probably go outside from in the morning. My mother our father wouldn't see me back until in the evening. Yes, I was just like that.
So Nigel, what was your family life like growing up?
Grew up with both parents in the early stages. Learned a lot from them. My mother, in particular, with her entrepreneurial skill, she is what you would call a hustler. She'll do chicken rearing. She then will do dressmaking. Of course, now they'll plant callaloo around the back of the farming. But then eventually ended up being a shopkeeper.
Right.
My father, no, that one is interesting. I have never seen my father ill. And I think what I've developed from him too is going to bed early, up early. He was never late for work. I've never seen him stop from church.
Right.
Trenchtown, Seventh-day Adventist Church, never stop. If he leaves the house at 7 in the morning, rain is falling, he's out there with his umbrella. And so each year he would win from his company awards for never late, never absent.
So
never.
all of these things were instilled with you from a very, very early age.
Yes,
So
I want time management and me and being early for things that's in me. I go to bed early too.
So let's talk about, well, we're not going to talk about the going to bed early part, but definitely the time management. I've had the privilege of working with you for so long, over a decade, and I have seen those principles instilled in every single program that you have, whether it's GAIN, or other programs. Of course, you're a stickler for time. But let's go back to your the experiences you've had with your mom. You mentioned she was an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And later in your life, you actually went into business and management, into that field. Do you think it bears any correlation to your experiences, early life, shaped by mom?
Well, it's interesting you say if I went into anything. This is something a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
That I was a barber.
Tell me.
Yes.
Is that why you're always clean cut? Is it? Tell us.
I was a barber. And so you'll have, I had this huge carport that I used to use. And I will have persons sometimes come there from 6 in the morning and not finish until 6 in the evening and all of that. A lot of people don't know that part of me. Yes, I had all the equipment, everything. It was a business. I used to, every Monday after I do that barbering for the weekend, because then I'll work during the week and then do the barbering on the weekend, and I will go to Jamaica National and lodge the money, save, because I was always saving to save. Jamaica National had this ad that if you save with them, you will get a discounted rate for mortgage. So a house was always on the forefront of my head to get a house. So I do that. I think I got some of that from her. To hustle, to try and get something else to do, to ensure that everything is kept in order. There's always income rolling in.
Listen, man, I'm a man who is always investing in time, energy. And you're going to see how some of those hustling skills played out, especially as we talk about a little later his launch into ministry, in particular as it relates to being communication director at the Jamaica Union. But back to your early life, though. So you mentioned trying different things, being a barber at one point. Was there ever a point, Nigel, that you wondered what your purpose was on earth? Because you grew up in a family, both parents present. You were the second to last child for your mother and your father. You were a member of the Seventh-day Adventist faith, but
not yet.
Okay, tell us about that.
Not yet. I wasn't at that time. I actually got baptized in 1996. Yes, Pastor Cottrell is the person responsible for that. Did the Bible study with him, everything like that. But all along, no. But my father was like head deacon at Trenchtown Church. My sisters were in Pathfindering. I was maybe at that time the little black sheep who was out there. Trying to find his way, being outdoor, going to parties, even keeping parties.
My Lord.
Yes, those are some of the things that a lot of people are not aware of. Yes.
So talk to us
about being involved in those kind of things.
Talk to us about 1998. So you are now at you were attending which church was it? Meadowvale SDA.
Yes, that's where I got baptized. At the Meadowvale Church.
Talk to us about that period. Why did you decide to surrender your heart to the Lord, one, and tie it into the purpose that He was calling you to?
Well, let me tell you, I started, I got tired of the world, so to speak. And then during the years leading up, I would feel some struggles in the night. I'd feel like someone is holding me down. I'll be shouting for Jesus, and then to overcome it, to jump out of the sleep or whatever phase I was in, then it would say, hold on here, the Lord is calling me here for something. I need to give my life for Him.
How old were you then?
There were other persons. I don't want to do the math
here. That's fine. That's
but,
okay. Go on.
Other people would be encouraging me to go to church. And I used to visit, like on Community Guest Day or on Music Day. I mainly used to attend Trenchtown Church because that's where my father was and my sisters were. So that part of it. So after conversion now, the interesting thing is that I was just thrown into the whole thing. Pastor Cottrell called me one day. He was the pastor of Meadowvale, and he says, the nominating committee met and they're asking you to be the communication director. And I'm like, what is communication? He said to me, go and read it in the manual and come back to me. Of course, I read the manual and couldn't understand the whole thing, just the same. So I went back to him and I said, Pastor, I'm still not understanding it, so I don't want to go in it. And Pastor Cottrell says, take it, do it for 1 year, and if you don't like it, then you can give it up.
So what happened?
From then until now, I've been a communication director. I was communication director for Meadowvale until I left in 2005 because I was elected in November 2005 for the union. up to this day,
This day.
just has not left me. Sometimes I said to you, you put this curse on me, but it's really not a curse. It's a blessing.
I guess you really like it then, according to Cottrell.
Yes.
But I don't want to jump too much into that role just yet. Let's go back, because there was a life that you built before your call into serving the church in the area of communication. Many people don't know you were into banking and finance.
Well, let me tell you, my first real thing was with Jamaica Cultural Development Commission.
Tell me.
I worked there in the late 80s. I was a sponsorship coordinator, which involves a little PR there, but I was asked or paid to bring in money for Festival Song, Festival Queen, all those activities.
Nice.
So it helped me to get familiarized with the whole culture of things, the speech, the drama, the music. We usually have to go to those activities, the Festival Song.
Right.
I'll never forget the year that there was one of them named Stop and Go, that they actually threw bottles on the stage. I was right there with a lady, Annie Chung, who was the manager for Tasty. They were the sponsor of the Festival Song that year, and about to go on to present the winner when bottles
were being thrown.
Came on, and we had to just come back off. So that was before it, and then I was just thrust into investment and banking. Now, I was at JCDC. I was on like the Scouts Association fundraising. I was on other fundraising committees. Oliver Jones, who was on the Scouts Association, he chaired that committee. I just one day said, I want to leave the whole culture thing. And the next thing I know, I was called to submit a resume. I submitted it. This is for Island Life Merchant Bank now. When I submitted it, they just told me what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
So that was in 1990. I left JCDC straight into Island Life Merchant Bank.
Wow.
And then while there, got interested in the whole investment thing. Yes, we dealt with deposits there and loans, but then after a while, the whole idea of investment, I saw how the bank made money. OPM, as they would say, other people's money. So they'll give you 5%. They'll do the loan at 15 or 20, just using that for say. At that time, it was high interest rate, the 1990s. And so I learned the whole thing, and then got interested in the stock market. So I started to do some investment with Barita, and after doing it, I remember Peter Rose Hall. She keeps asking me if I wanted to work at Barita. I keep telling her no. In fact, I told her no for 3 months. Until one day, I had a tummy ache, and she placed me in the little nursery area that they have there on a bed, and she was giving me a tablet. And then she said, "Where do you want your desk?" And I said, "Over there." Believe you me, by the next day they called me in for an interview.
Oh, wow.
And so I left Island Life Merchant Bank and straight into Barita.
And how many years you spent at Barita?
Barita was 1993. I started January 1993. And I think I left 1997.
Right.
So somewhere around about 4 or 5 years, I left there.
Yeah.
And then the general manager who was at Barita, he had left for First Caribbean International Securities. At that time it was CIBC Trusted Merchant. And he went there, and after a couple months, because I remember he left February, and by November he gave me a call to come and work for them.
Wow.
And so my life has not been, up to this day, I have not sent in an application.
You've just been called everywhere.
Yes, I've just been called.
We're going to get to that. Hold it right there,
Yes.
Nigel. If you're just joining us, I am having a discussion. My name is Adise Jonas Murphy. I'm having a discussion with Nigel Coke. Nigel serves currently as the Communication, Public Affairs, and Religious Liberty Director of the Jamaica Union Conference. And, we're talking about his story, his beginning, his growth, his development. But a while ago, we were speaking specifically as it relates to, life before being called into service. Nigel is a banking man, finance man. Yeah, he learned all those things. He was a barber. Can I say this again? Nigel was a barber. So if you need to rewind and just, listen, you can go back to that part of the story. But I want to invite you to like, share, and subscribe, of course, to our YouTube channel as we, of course, continue this discussion. So, Nigel, I was laughing while you were sharing, that whole portion of your story, because I am seeing God, and I always say this, His providential hand guiding you, guiding your decisions, guiding everything that you're called to and everything your hands touch, and taking you to the point where you're now at. And I see how the sponsorship, of course, the experience has benefited, what you're called to do now as director of the union. And I'm seeing how your experience in investing and banking and, stocks also play a critical role with what you do now, in service, providing leadership to the church.
And let me add, I'm still a barber.
My Lord.
Because when Bobette needs her hair to cut,
you are the man.
I'm the person.
You used to joke about that, but honestly, to me it was a joke. I thought you were joking. I didn't know you were serious. I didn't know. All right, so if you need a barber, this is the man to come to. So, all right, so you used to work in banking and finance, and you shared with us earlier it's kind of like this pull, this tug of war that you experienced, kind of like, this pull to become closer to Jesus, and you ended up making that decision to surrender your life and get baptized. Pastor Cottrell was the pastor then, and you got baptized. You were launched into the communication ministry. Talk to us about how you found that year, that first year that you mentioned.
Well, I took it and I continued, but I went to, I was in Washington. I'm trying to remember our book and nutrition name. Is it something like Tacoma or something like that? Somewhere in Washington, Maryland. I went there and I saw a book titled How to Take the Church from the Pew to the Public. And that was relating to media relations.
Right.
I bought the book and
transformed your life.
Yes, it inspired me a whole lot, and I just got immersed into the whole thing. I was taking photos, I was relating to the media. I was just loving it. I believe it's a gift though. Because then I wouldn't have done any mass comm anywhere and things like that. It was not until afterwards, while I was at the union, I ensured that I did my mass comm degree at NCU. I completed that 2013. So I made sure the qualification
was there to support
it. But the experience, when it comes to communication is far better, because people will take you with the experience over the paper. Right. Yes. So that was good. I got into it. But Cottrell again, while I was there, he looked on me one morning, because he would drop his kids off to Kingsway, and I would drop my kids off. And he looked at me and he says, "You are going to go to the union.
My Lord, prophet.
You're not even going to go to the conference. You're going to skip and go straight to the union." And I said, "Oh, please, don't come back with something like that again." And guess what? It happened. It happened.
Prophesy
again.
Man, prophesy.
That one, I got the call before I got the human call. Yes, I remember.
Break that down.
No, I was asked to lie in my bed one night, and the Lord came to me and spoke to me, and He says, "You need to work at the church."
My Lord.
That came.
This was at what point during your tenure at Meadowvale? Probably halfway?
It was maybe the same year.
Okay.
2005 when I got called, because they had Festival of the Laity in 2004, and as a laity, they wanted a laity to chair like the PR committee.
Gotcha.
So I was asked to do it while I was working at the bank. So I was actually doing a lot of things. I was doing things even for ADRA before I went to the union. So I tell people that I was actually working
with
for
the union
before. So the call came, and then seriously about a week after, I got a call, and I said, yeah, fine. And the person like, why you just, yeah, fine. I said, because I got it before the Lord told me.
My Lord.
Well, that was Dr. Allen, of course, who said it. But I got the call before. So I would say it wasn't a human call that I got.
And I'm happy that we're talking about this, because many of you viewers are, perhaps in the valley of indecision as it relates to whether you should walk into the calling. This interview is here to remind you that God still speaks to his people. And when he speaks, we need to listen, and we need to act. And believe me, it's more important if we act when he speaks than we try to run away and come back to it. Because like Jonah, hey, we know the story, right? Eventually we'll end up doing what he needs us to do. So here it is, Nigel, you got the physical call, but you more importantly got the heavenly call. And so you gave up a life of money and banking. And I deliberately said it like that because you were making good money. And you were comfortable in banking.
Yeah, actually, and I didn't realize it until the year. I realized it fully until the year when, you do your NHD refund. When I saw the cut in that, trust me, it was more than 50%, because I used to tell people that yes, I got a cut in salary, and I usually say it was cut in half. I remember even saying it to Ian Bowen once in a barber shop, and he was saying, no, the church pays you more, and I rebuked him right there and then, because there's no way the church could have been paying me more than corporate Jamaica.
Right.
But yes, I have told people that yes, I had an advance card that I could go to a gas station and get my car filled. I had my parking space in the basement of the bank. We had lunch upstairs, all of that. Fast track coming to the union, you have to find your lunch on the road.
Of course.
Park in the sun, get your gas, every allowance in one package to say this is your pay.
But it's still a high and holy calling, right?
Yes. And let me tell you this, the first years were challenging because the adjustment was really tough to adjust from a salary of X to know this, plus the perks with it. And so it was, I was a little disappointed at first, but I realized it's a call. But let me tell you how much a call it was. On the day that we had the session and they named me as the communication director, I was like, and some people were saying, who is Nigel Coke? But this is a joke. I stayed at a hotel in Mandeville called Mandeview. And at 4 o'clock, I remember it clearly, I woke up at 4 o'clock and said, what is this that I have done? And I'm saying, I'm going to pray to God about it. And when I went on my knee, I didn't pray. I went on my knees. And this song came to me that it wasn't like I was hearing it anyway. It was a 70s song. Right. Leave Babylon and come.
My Lord.
I rose up immediately from off my knees. I didn't bother to pray. As I kneel, the song came to my mind, leave Babylon and come.
If that is not enough to convict you.
Hold on, no. So I got up and I said, fine, I'm fine. So the Sunday now after that, because I think that session was a Wednesday, Thursday session. So Friday, Bobette is working at NCB, all of that. So the Sunday now she said to me, all right, you have done this. What does it mean for us as a family? What is the salary? I'm like, I don't know. What about, I couldn't know anything because I just took the call. It's not a call where somebody sit with you in an interview and say your salary is X or Y. It's nothing like that.
So hold on, Nigel.
No, let me finish.
Yeah.
I went on the phone and I called Dr. Allen, the president then. And I said, can I change my mind? And then he gave me the scripture about turning your hand against the plow.
My Lord.
You'll not see the kingdom.
That sounds like Dr. Allen.
And I said, fine. Okay, no more. Remember one night I went on my knee, then I called him to say, okay, I said yes Thursday, it's now Sunday. Can I
Change of
change your
heart.
mind? So he convinced me then, and when your wife asks some questions that you can't
So
answer, then
I've been burning. I've been burning to ask this question, right? Because I'm just saying. By the way, Bobette, hi, Bobette, greetings, right? I'm just imagining myself as a wife and the questions that I would ask my husband. First of all, when you said the yes, is this something that you guys had discussed?
no,
Right. So
no,
me that probably
I didn't
I probably
discuss
have an
it
issue
with
with
her.
that.
I mean, the time wasn't there either. And then deep in me, I know that it was God's calling. So I said, well, if it happens, it happens. So when you go there, even though you would have gotten that heavenly call, and even though someone would have said, would you like this position if it comes?
Yeah.
It's not a certainty.
Right.
It's no certainty. So sometimes it's not good to give an idea
Right.
of uncertainty and all of that. But I accepted it. And as I said, so after that, no, it was some trying times.
Right.
Trying times in that I'm coming from Kingston where I didn't have water challenges. I end up in Mandeville carrying water from next door to get a shower, and all of that just got
Humbled
to
you.
me.
Humbled you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was like...
But let's go back to Bobette though. Let's go back to your family. How did you guys, and I know it would have been a period of adjusting and an adjustment for you guys, but after she would have asked those questions, Nigel, so what are the implications on us now? What would this require of us? How was that transitional period? Because you both were in Kingston, living and working in Kingston, in the banking sector.
Yes,
So now you get this call from God, like Abraham, you took up yourself.
Yes.
Are you moving to Mandeville?
Yes.
What happened to the family in the transition? How did you guys deal with that?
The transition was that I went down initially. So I started January because I had to give the bank 30 days notice. So I left December, and then I started at the office 2006 January.
Okay.
And then Bobette, no, she was still in Kingston at NCB. And so I would stay at a friend's house and then go home on weekends, things like that. And then she will take the kids to school and all of that. But then she got a call from NCU.
My Lord.
In about May of that same year. And so she left the bank and went down. So the kids then moved from Kingsway to West Indies College, West Indies College Prep. And that was the transition.
All right. So family reunited in mission, called to serve. I bet, as a child, there is no way that you could have predicted this. You would have seen this. You would have seen yourself being a leader in the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Jamaica. Let's now transition into some of the things that you've been able to accomplish and some of the things that you've been able to do, since occupying this portfolio in 2006. It's now 2025, so that makes it 19 years. And
November was the election time. Yeah, I was elected November 2005.
Okay, so technically 20th year.
Yeah, November will make 20 years since the nomination, the election. So what I'm pleased about is that where the church was then and where it is now,
night and day.
to God be the glory. I remember though that one of the things that drove me to accepting the position, because I saw a SWOT analysis that the union had done, and one of the weaknesses in it was the relationship with the media. And I told myself I'd have to fix that, because even when they did the funeral service, it was a policy. Yes, they voted a policy on funeral and what people should wear after that famous Bogle
funeral at Kencott.
in Kencott. And so I remember working on that policy, meaning when we got it, we sent it out to the media, and we were arranging interviews with Dr. Allen then, on IRA FM, CVM, things like that. And so I decided to change that W into S. And I think we have done that.
Yeah.
So if there's ever something I'm pleased about is the fact that we're relating to the media. Not, I believe, how some members want, meaning 100%. They want us to be more interactive on issues,
Right.
to speak to more issues. But in terms of our work that we do going to the media, I think we have accomplished that. Because even then, when I was at Meadowvale, one of the things that stung me, and I was really determined from them, because I've been getting news in the papers from I was at Meadowvale.
Okay.
And what hit me was, I remember a star headline I saw, Adventist deacon charged for molesting.
Right.
Something like that. So I called the guy and I said, why do you put Adventist? He says, because we are called for a higher level of morality.
Oh, wow.
So I said to him then, fine, make sure that your headline will get what religion the persons belong to. So you can say a Baptist,
Right.
deacon, Catholic, name them by. And they just don't do that. But now I understand, they really see Adventists as someone who should be held at higher moral standard. And that's why he was happy to use the word Adventist. So it's like he was saying, can you imagine an Adventist?
Right.
That's what was screaming out
Gotcha.
on the headline. And I said to myself, let us feed them with good news so that when the bad one comes, because they will come,
Yeah.
it will just
Yeah.
drown into the sea of good news.
Now, I always joke and I always say that when I think of Nigel Coke, when I call the name Nigel, Nigel is not a proper noun for me. Nigel is a verb. You think of somebody who can get things done, that's Nigel. Anyone who can tell you, and it's not bad news, but anything that you need to know within the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you can call Nigel and he'll get the information to you. Now, when I met you in 2010, Nigel, I was not yet working with the church. I was working with Power 106 FM. But then, I don't know, I guess destiny had it, the Lord had it, that I would come into the church. And I've been able to benefit from some of, quite a bit of the training that you have implemented for Adventist communicators. And I have seen your commitment, your leadership, your excellent work. I've seen you awarded from the union to, just different sectors of the Jamaican landscape. Wouldn't reach a division yet, but even just within Jamaica, different organizations and sectors. And then now, coming into the division, the Inter-American division, they would have highlighted tons. We can't even count the amount of articles that, that you have sent over to the division on behalf of the Jamaica Union, and also empowering us as communicators to do the same. And then we talk about the General Conference and the extensive recognition that you've also gotten there. I know not just in communication, but also in public affairs. When you look back, public affairs and religious liberty, when you look back at your last 20 years of work, what is it that you feel satisfied with?
Well, as I mentioned before, the fact that the church has come on. When I started, it was West Indies Union Conference, which would have included Cayman, Turks and Caicos, and the Bahamas. And so whatever was happening in those regions, they would be asking me to go there to cover it. Not to mention West, East, North. Communication was really just down.
Right.
In Jamaica, but to see where it's at now, to see that Newspapers will be asking us for interviews and radio station. That gives me a sense of satisfaction, and it also tells me what God can do through you if you depend on Him.
Yeah.
Because this is what a lot of people don't know. The first time I said it at a seminar I was doing, they laughed. I told them, for the most part, I whisper a prayer whenever I send something out to say, God, if it is your will,
Let it be
published. So it's not, because it takes following up.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You don't just send it and they will just find it and do whatever. Sometimes you have to say, check your email,
Right.
and send something, you have to prompt them.
Right.
It takes a lot of following up. It takes a lot of, if it didn't come the next day, you check them again to make sure it comes. So it's not as easy as it looks.
As it looks, eh?
But it takes a lot of dedication and commitment. And I'm telling you why. When something comes on the news, whether it's on the radio,
Right.
whether it's a TV or in the newspaper, my day is made. There's nothing that no one can do to upset me for that day. That gives me joy to see the church spreading the good news. So it's from the church to the pew
To the public.
to the public or to the world.
Do you remember, well, of course you would, during the pandemic, and I raise this one because this is where the church hit a pivotal transitionary period in its life. That first report on television Jamaica, we made headlines because of how the church pivoted during the period. The Adventist church became a staple name in media and community. Yeah, people used to see us on the front covers and in between covers, but we hit the news during that time there. So my question is, since the pandemic, you know, we're managing this change. A lot of persons are now seeing the church move into an era where we're embracing technology even more. Some even say, boy, church feel like a production. You know, but how would you speak to individuals who are having a challenging time navigating this period, embracing the technological era, and pretty much how the church is using?
Three words: get over it. That's where we are going. That's where the church is. That's where the world is. If you want to get to the world, you have to go through technology. There's no sense in we stay into a back room when everyone is on the veranda or at the gate. I'm just using, you know, about. It don't make sense. And so there are individuals, whatever change you might suggest, and we use different tools, right? Because remember, right now it is the angels flying in the midst of heaven. That's technology.
Right. Yes.
Right? But I get, whenever you make some change, there are some traditionalists in the church that doesn't want to see change.
Yeah.
And so you would have remembered too, when the whole Facebook and so come, people were saying it's of the devil.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing it as that tool that we can use for evangelism. And then when the pandemic struck, some who were saying it's of the devil were saying, follow me on Facebook, on Instagram.
Yes.
COVID did a very good thing for
the
us.
church.
Because in everything, there's good and there's bad. We have been preaching the gospel according to technology for years. Some people are afraid. Some people have still not bought into it. But when COVID hit, that was a turning point for the church there. Because even when we were planning a GAIN conference in 2019, we were meeting every week. You were meeting too. And we were discussing the plan, and it was on Zoom. So we were using Zoom before COVID, yet it was COVID who made a lot of people know about Zoom.
Correct.
So we were using it because, I mean, what if we used to have meeting every week to plan GAIN? What if we were having everybody coming from the conferences every week for meeting?
It would be
a lot of transportation, a lot of that. So we need to use technology in an effective and efficient way to ensure that the gospel goes out to the world, because it's every nation, kindred
and tribe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so just like I would always say about religious liberty, that it has no face. Technology, right now, you can say it has no face, no race, no identity in terms of person. It is for everybody.
Right.
It impacts everybody. And right now, persons are concerned with the whole issue of AI. We have been using AI a long time ago. With some people usually use it for their answering machine.
What's the issue people are having with AI?
AI is a good tool, but you have to use it, again, like anything.
Oh, the ethical issues?
Yes, there are ethical issues when it comes to using it in a particular unethical way, like even for education.
Right.
When you'd want to use it. Yeah, but the institutions have gotten their own policies in place whereby, for instance, they say if your work is not 25%, is 25% not more, where AI is concerned, they will say, fine, you can go ahead, but if they realize you're gone over, you lose mark for it. But AI, again, you have to make sure that the data that it is giving you is accurate, because it can, like anybody, give you wrong data, and you go and publish that data, you can be sued and things like that, because AI is not 100% perfect. But the church must use it. It's another tool.
Right. And we look for all the opportunities to share Christ with others. If you're just tuning in, this is Unveiling. I am having a discussion with Elder Nigel Coke, who serves as Communication, Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Director of the Jamaica Union Conference. We're talking about Nigel's life, early years, how he grew up, the impact of his family on his life before being called to serve as a leader in the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Jamaica. Right now, Nigel, I want to switch gears to some of the challenging periods in ministry, right? No doubt, being a minister is not easy. Being a leader in the church is not easy. There are going to be good days, bad days, tough days, hard days, days you feel like walking away, feel like, just not being able to bother. I'm pretty sure that this too would have had its impact perhaps on your family. How did you navigate the difficult days of ministry?
Well, to start, there were some persons who would have given me some warning when it comes to the church. I remember my sister, one Lovell. She says to me before baptism, she says, well, I know you're leaving the world, and I'm saying to you, what is out there is in the church and more. Wow.
Let that soak.
Cottrell keeps saying to me, the church has a lot of hypocrites. So each time we'll do Bible study, he will say the church has a lot of hypocrites. And then I remember the last night, before I baptized, I said, why you keep saying that to me every time we meet? And he said again, I see you're going to do good in the church, and some people are not going to like it. Cottrell was just always seeing something.
First is the Godfather. Cottrell's the Godfather.
He keep doing it. And then after I was employed by the church, I had like Wendell Macmillan from the Bahamas. He would give me encouraging words and say, look, just make sure you do this or that.
Right.
I'd have Patrick Rutherford, who would advise me of the whole issue of financing and those challenges that I would face.
Right.
And then Pastor Fraser, Will Fraser, gave me a very instructive one. I'm going to say, because I have used that he had said, and apply it in various parts of life. So he says, you're coming to the church, and if the church wants to get rid of you, they have all the policies to do so. And if they want to keep you, they'll break all of them. And so I've used that in life, to say that if people want to really do something too, they'll find the reason and they know how to do that. If they don't want, they'll give you 1,000 reasons not to. So apply it to life. Those have kept me in the challenging times. I cannot give you some real deep one, but a lot of people believe that I just went through smoothly.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't keep a vexed face. I always want to see people happy. I don't keep people in my heart. I'm very forgiving.
That's why you live so long.
I want to see people do good.
Right.
So I'm not in any bad mind thing.
Yeah.
I don't do that. A lot of times I don't do stab in the back either. I face a lot of people and I will say the things to them. I remember years ago when there was a pastor that had some challenging behavior, and some of the members said, Nigel, you're the one to go to him and say it. And I went to him and said, it doesn't take anything to say to someone, this is not looking right or this is going bad. You need to change. It's either they accept it or not. Just the facts, you decide.
Yeah.
So I will confront people. I'm using the word confront because sometimes people don't like to be confronted with the truth.
Right.
But I'll just say to you and them. So if someone is saying to me, I just don't like you, and or I see you behaving a certain, I'll come to you and say, I've noticed this. You're not that. What is the
You're
problem?
direct.
What did I do to you? Yes, I will do that because I don't believe human beings should be living in any animosity.
Right.
And especially as Christians, we ought not to. And if we ought against each other, I don't think there's anything to carry with you.
Yeah.
When I speak and preach on forgiveness, I've always said to them, it's not what the person has done to you, it's what God has done for you. Just
Powerful.
look at that and you'll see the lapse here.
Yeah.
How much God has done for you compared to what the person did. So it's easy. Forget it.
Wow.
And so that has been defined in my life when I face challenges in the church. We have faced challenges because even in 2008 and 9 when there was a financial meltdown, there were challenges with tithe and offering and things like that runs the church. But I remember, and even during COVID, I would say to them, persons are sending me requests to go to school. They want help because COVID would have done that. And I said, give, because God is going to give us back.
Right.
That's all. And then I remember the COVID era turned out that we did not have a big drop in what we got in as tithe and offering. God blessed His people. Because another thing I am just sure about is that the more you give, the more you receive. Because there are two things that brought me so close and good and in the Adventist church. And it's the health message, I believe in it, and also stewardship. Yes,
wonderful.
I believe in the whole issue of giving,
managing resources,
kindness. Don't hoard it because you're not going to go anywhere in it. But if you give it to the Lord, trust me, He will multiply it.
So even as you share that, right? My mind. Let me ask it this way. So I want you to just think back over this 20-year period. And I want you to think of a challenging time you've had. It could have been a period of illness. It could have been anything that you are able to share publicly, a very, very low moment during your leadership, and how God navigated, how He helped you through that particular period.
I did mention earlier about the financing part of it, and the fact that I had to be doing things that I wasn't used to in Kingston, like having no water, getting ready to go into the bathroom for a shower, and then no water, and then have to do all of that. And I spoke of us having challenge. I remember in the 2009 period, 2008-9, we had to be like the Visitor magazine that we publish, I had to be getting sponsors for it just to publish it because the funds were not there at the time. The global financial meltdown caused that. Outside of that, real challenges that I have faced again has to do with finance. Some way, somehow, the Department of Communication, it is being seen in some conference and even now as at the union as a good thing, and they're spending money on it. But in the early days, I had to be almost wringing hands to get a flash from my camera. Those were challenges that I faced. There were times that you want to do something and they will tell you the funds is not available. That now hurts you because you have the plan in place, you're ready to go, you're eager for this, and then you're disappointed. So those are real challenges, other than personality.
Relational.
Challenges. Yes, relational, which of course, for the most part, I don't cause relational problems. But sometimes, as Cottrell would have told me, some people have a problem with me.
Yeah.
I normally would say to them, just if you're going to pick on someone, not me, because God is going to stand up for me. He's going to do it. And I've seen it happen over and over. And it's not just in the church. It happened in the public sector while at JCDC. It happened in the corporate world while going through the Island Life Merchant Bank, Marita first, CIBC Trust, then CIBC First Caribbean, where people just probably have a problem with you and what you do and how you do it, and they believe that you're a pushover. But I've not always stood up as I should, because God is my
Defender.
fighter. God have my back. And I just leave things in God's hand. I am a specialist at that.
My Lord.
Seriously,
like
I'm a specialist at that, because it's the best place to leave problems, you know, with God. He's going to work it out. You don't know how, but I'm a believer in it.
Yeah.
I have been on record as saying, people believe, but I trust God. And it's a big difference. And I, when I left corporate Jamaica, I did it with my eyes wide shut.
Wide shut. I get it.
Yes,
Get what you're
that
doing.
was deliberate. That's not a mistake.
I get it.
I 50% knew what I was going in, but the other 50 was an unknown.
Yeah.
So I had to have good faith and trust in God, and throughout the whole journey, I had to be trusting Him each time I come up on some obstacle. As I said, the bad ones are the relational ones. People try to hurt you, and you laugh at them. The good thing about God, with me, He shows me my enemies. Because He knows I can deal with them. And I've not dealt with them badly. Seriously, I have dealt with them good. Some might be even surprised at some things that they get. I was behind it to say, no, do this for her, or do this for him. I'm serious about that, because it's the work, and life goes on. It doesn't make sense you fight anyone. So I don't fight fist to fist then. I've always said that I fight with a clean hand and a pure heart. So if
Words
you
of
come
David.
Whatever you come with to fight me, I'm not going to fight. My mother, before she passed, she said to me, Nigel, anyone who can't get along with you, something is wrong with them, because you're easy to get along with. I'll never forget that. She said that to me before. And I believe her, because in general, I'm a friendly person. And I would say I'm an extrovert. And I just like to be happy and make people happy.
Yeah.
That's it. But if you try to make me sad, you're not going to win. When I was at the bank, the manager one day said to me that he has never seen anyone with so much self-esteem. Yeah, I have that built-in self-esteem that even if you're putting me down, it's not gonna last. Maybe I'll think about it for a day. I'm not gonna have a sleepless night over it, for sure. And I'm up and bubbling again.
Yeah.
When I left First Caribbean too, a lady commented, she said, I've never seen you down and sad. But they were challenging times. But I just take things lightly.
Yeah.
I don't bother to be fussy and long-faced and all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're having, of course, this discussion with Nigel Coke. He's sharing his story with us, and we're about to wind things down. But before we do, there are some very, very important persons in Nigel's life. And this is what they had to say about it.
After 26 years of marriage, I can proudly say that Nigel has been a wonderful husband, a father, and a friend. When it comes to providing for his family, he believes that. He's big on that. He believes that a man should provide for his family, and that he does. So he's that stabilizing force, and I'm thankful for that. As a worker of the church, he champions the cause of the poor, an excellent communicator, and anything that needs to be highlighted or communicated that can give them a better quality of life, that's going to be done. He gives 120% to the church, sometimes to the detriment of this family and family time, but that's the nature of the man. And so I pray that God will continue to bless him with that which is required to continue to give of his best, to be the steward and disciple that has called him to be.
Elder Nigel Coke represents one of the finest champions of his generation. A mastermind, a clear thinker, a financially astute individual, a coach, a mentor, an academic, yes, a communicator. He's all that and so much more. He has distinguished himself in many different areas of endeavor, in the banking industry, but also in service to his church and to his God. Elder Nigel Coke represents one of God's greatest gifts to mankind, and one who has been gifted with so many different abilities and skill sets, which he uses to bless, to empower, and to enrich the life of others. His commitment to duty, his fidelity to the task, his ability to adapt, to bounce back, to be resilient in the face of challenges are some of the things that make him a man of sterling character, of firm purpose, and one who is worthy to model.
Nigel Coke is a man of great impact, not just within the church, but across the wider Jamaican society. I've had the privilege of forging a strong working relationship with him, and a personal one as well. And one of his defining qualities is his willingness to share his wealth of knowledge. In a world where many leaders hesitate to pour into others, Nigel stands out as a true exemplar. His mentorship has been invaluable, and I am deeply grateful for his guidance and his leadership.
Yes, so you've heard it all, from his friends, his colleagues, Nigel's, his family members speaking about who this individual is. One who is known to put the church on the map, so to speak, with regards to, the area of communication, but also one who loves the Lord, one who desires to please him with his life. And I'm so happy, Nigel. I'm so happy that we had this opportunity to sit and talk in nature.
Yes.
Things have been dropping on me like crazy from the top of the trees, but God has been good to you, to us,
yes.
and he's been faithful to you on your journey. One thing I forgot to ask you, and I really want you to answer in probably like 30 seconds or so. How you balance family life? Because as a minister, that's what we all struggle with. How you balance family life with all you had to do? It's like a lot.
I think my kids suffer from me being there for them in the early parts of things. One thing we did do, and we did this with them, we anchored them. Once we came to Mandeville, we anchored them at NCU, because NCU has, they still have it, yes, a very good Pathfinder program. So when I'll be going around the country, I wouldn't be taking them with me. because they would need to bond with some
Their
friends,
friends.
and so forth. Sometimes Babette will come, sometimes she would have to stay with them. But I ensured that they were not going around with me and just getting some sermons or something like that, but that they find friends.
Their own space.
And it's very important that even up to this day, the friends that they came up with, they're still meeting up when Christmas come and holidays. They still, you know, because those days they would camp over at this one house, they will stay over at our house one night. They will just be bonding as friends, and they're still friends. One of them getting married next month, and they're all participating, all the friends are. So they are grown up now, but they are still together as friends. And it is very, very important, especially for ministers, pastors too, because they you know, they move pastors a whole lot.
Tell me about it.
I don't think it does well for pastors' children.
Yeah.
But I ensured that part was settled. So I can't be there, but there must be somewhere where there's some stability. I think it worked.
All right, words of wisdom from Elder Nigel Coke. Of course, his lived experiences. We appreciate you, Nigel. Thank you so much for sharing with us for this last hour in Unveiling. And of course, we know that this testimony is going to impact countless lives. If you are in a place or space, you know, where you're trying to figure out, you know, where you should go, left or right, making your decision to serve Christ fully or to walk in a direction he is pointing you to walk in, Nigel's experiences will definitely help you to remember that, hey, our God still speaks, and whatever he is asking you to do, it's always best that we listen to him and follow in his footsteps. Remember, Babylon is calling you out, you know. Babylon is calling you out. On behalf of our hardworking production team, my name is Adise Jonas Murphy. We'll join you next time for another episode of Unveiling. God bless.